Hola, buenos días.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches.
This is Barb.
And this is Estela.
And welcome to
Cafecito
and Crime. So, today I sound a little bit under the weather, as well as my sister here. But for some reason, the change of weather back and forth, cold, hot, like I don't know what the hell's going on.
Or allergies.
No, I think mine's a little bit more than allergies because I never have allergies this bad. Like it's been bad for the past 3 days, pero ya estoy mejor, gracias a Dios. I also went to puro pinche party on Saturday.
Yeah.
Y me puse a tomar y
it was cold outside.
It was very cold on Saturday and we were in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah. It was freezing there. No había nada. Ni un árbol, nada. Nada más, they did have like a carpa y tenían como un heater in there.
Oh, and then you had a fire pit.
And then there was a fire pit. But the fire pit was on the other side. I didn't get to the fire pit hasta cuando ya nos íbamos a venir. So, if y'all hear that, I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, yesterday I sounded rough. Today I sound a lot better. So I was like, I think I can give it my all.
Yeah, because we were supposed to record ayer, but you couldn't. So we're doing today instead. So, which is fine.
How was your Thanksgiving, sister?
Mine was good. How was yours?
Mine was pretty fabulous.
Yeah.
I can't complain. I ate a lot. Me dolía la panza. I felt like I probably ate like 17 pounds of macaroni.
Yeah.
But my husband...
I ate leftovers for 2 days.
Yeah, same. My husband's macaroni he made the teeny macaroni.
I think everybody made the teeny macaroni this year because I saw it a lot on my timeline on Instagram that a lot of people were making it. So
no, I'm glad everybody made it. And I'm glad that she inspired everybody to make it badass macaroni.
Yeah.
Pero yo hice lo mismo. Tú sabes, stuffing. I'm dressing, porque no es stuffing. We don't put it in a turkey. We didn't have turkey this year. No turkey. Tuvimos brisket. Mm-hmm. My sister got it made in Dallas. And then, and what else did we had rolls. I went on there and I was like, best store-bought rolls. And that's what we bought. Y luego, but my daughter, she got this recipe because I was like, man, no vamos a tener espacio para hacer cakes ni nada. So my nephew bought us a Costco cake, pie, pumpkin pie. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of pumpkin pie. I know he's going to hear this because he listens. Shout out to my nephew, Gabriel. But I tried it, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to make something just in case. So, not that I don't trust my nephew's pumpkin pie, but you never know. So then Emma made a Biscoff cheesecake. Mm-hmm. Oh my, it was so fucking good.
Yeah. Like,
we're making it for Christmas. That's how good it was.
Okay.
Yeah, we're making it again. So yeah, but I'm hoping everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Today's case is actually going to be brought to you by me, La Rascuacha. It's actually a case that was on Thanksgiving. And that's the reason that I went with this case. So we are going to be speaking of, and I don't know if you've heard of it, it's Mandy Stavik. So Mandy Stavik was a 18-year-old young girl that obviously, we're a murder, true crime. So
lost her life,
unfortunately. So we are actually going to somewhere that I don't think you've been there. Maybe you have. You never know. Acme, Washington.
No, I do not know.
Not like Acme, like the Animaniacs.
I figured.
Yeah. No,
I was confused.
Yo te entiendo because I got confused too. I wish it was the Animaniacs. Pero I was watching this TikTok. I have ADD, if nobody knows that, diagnosed. Y entonces the lady said, you don't remember what happened yesterday or you don't remember where you left your keys, but you can sing the whole Animaniac song. Yes, I can.
Yeah.
If y'all pay me enough, I might sing it for you guys one day.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Why not? You don't want to hear it?
No, because isn't it copyrighted?
Pues I could say, don't own the rights to this music.
I don't think that's how it works.
I could be like, I don't own the rights to this music. Anyhow, if you would like to come with us to Acme, Washington, go ahead and grab your cafecitos.
And let's get started.
So we're going, like I said, to Acme, Washington, and is about 20 miles away from Canada. So in la mera,
you're talking about Washington State.
Washington State, yeah.
Okay.
So the fun, random, interesting fact of Washington, I was telling Estela that it makes me really excited whenever I find a fun, random, interesting fact that I really was like, what the fuck? So that is that Acme is home to the only syrup producer in Western United States. The only, yeah. So then I was like, whoa, ¿cómo se llama el syrup, verdad? Pues para saber, para comprarlo, ¿verdad?
It's a producer, not a brand, right?
Yeah, it's a producer. Okay. Exactly. So then I was like, oh, well,
which brands do they produce?
That's what I was gonna tell you. So then I was like, well, let me look into this because I'm like, and this is why I have my phone, because I was like, let me find out. So 2 hours north of Seattle in Acme. So Seattle, Washington is 2 hours from Acme.
Yeah.
Is a family the family, I can't say it. Neil's Big Leaf is a maple syrup. So maple syrup, Neil Armstrong, Big Leaf.
Why you go like that with her arm? She went like she's going to run.
Like I'm running like near. Pero Neil, he rides a bicycle. It's a maple syrup made from big leaf maple trees. And this is all in Acme, Washington.
¿Cómo se llama la compañía? Neil?
Neil como N-E... No, N-E-I de iguana, L de Lela.
Maple leaf?
Big leaf maple leaf.
Big leaf maple. Ooh, that's good reviews.
So basically what I was going to tell you.
Sold out.
Yeah, because everybody heard it from our case.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that you can find there, but this was the biggest thing about this case is this town is really small. So whenever this happened, this case happened back in the
I can't find it at HEB.
Well, because this is Texas.
I know, but I'm sure they distribute. No, I think it's like family, like small owned business.
Let me tell you another fun.
Buy from the website. It looks good. It has good reviews.
Buy from it. Easy if they want to sponsor us. You never. And send me some. I will be happy to.
Did you know that HEB doesn't stand for Here Everything's Better?
No, it stands for the name of the guy. Herbert something.
EB something.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's el hijo de la señora that founded the company.
Well, good for her. Fun, random, interesting fact about HEB. Yeah. But anyway, so another thing, I was like, well, the reason that this case was so interesting was because of the fact that the population of Acme was in 2020 was only 229 people.
In 2020?
In 2020.
What about in 2024?
200.
What happened to the 49 people?
I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So anyway, they only have...
I want you to tell me what happened.
So I was going through the fun, interesting, random facts. And then it was so funny because it says it has amenities. It has a general store, a post office, a gas station,
a bank,
a diner, an elementary school, and 2 churches.
Not a bank?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure it has a bank, but
Not just 1, 2 churches.
And it's Church's Chicken.
That's what I was about to say. Not
the actual church.
Not the Holy Spirit.
And they also produce other things which I had no idea that they were so rich in like fruit. So they do blackberries, they do apples. Like a lot of fruit comes from Acme, Washington. Not Acme, Washington, but from Washington. Yeah. Anyway, so like I said before, we're going to Acme. Mandy was born on April the 16th of 1971 to her parents, Mary and Glenn Stavik. At a young age, Mandy's family moved because, unfortunately, Mandy's parents got divorced. And they lived in Alaska at the moment, and that was in 1983.
Okay.
So when they moved, it was just her mom, Mary, and her 3 siblings. So she was one of 3. One was Lee and Molly. Now, when they moved to Acme, like I said, the town was so small, it only have a population about of 200. So the family actually had their own share of bad things happen to them because one of the reasons that the couple divorced in 1974 was because one of Mandy's brothers, so she was originally one of 4, he was killed. His name was Brent, and he was shot in the head and also, and in the chest, and they never found the killer.
How old was he?
I didn't get much information, but he was the oldest of all of them, and he wasn't very old though.
No, he must have been he still was
a teen, maybe.
Teen, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is one of the reasons why they moved to Acme. They needed to get away from that.
They moved from Alaska to Acme. Mm-hmm. And when her parents, so she was originally from Alaska?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was born in, I can't say the word, but she was originally from Alaska.
Okay, so they lived in Alaska and then they moved to Acme after her parents separated.
After her parents separated, they moved to the whole family. So quedó nada más her siblings, which is Lee and Molly. So un hermano y una sister. Yeah. So once they moved, they tried to build a new life. Mm-hmm. They, like I said, they went to a small town, so they knew that their community was very close. So at one point, Mandy attended Mount Baker High School, which she was an athlete, Estela. She played everything that you can imagine outside. She was a cheerleader. She ran track. Can't relate because I don't run. And she was in the softball team. She was very active and she loved to run. She loved to run. That was her shit. Running was her shit. Mandy had a very close relationship with one of the coaches at the school. Se llamaba el señor. He was a basketball coach and his name was Jim Friedman. And he actually always spoke very highly of her. And she wrote him a letter as well of how appreciated she was because of everything that he did. In 1989, Mandy graduated from high school and she was well adapted by this time to her community. She had a boyfriend. His name was Rick Zinder and a lot of friends. So in the fall of 1989, she began to attend Central Washington University. She went home for Thanksgiving. Okay. So fall break, Thanksgiving break. She had Thanksgiving that Thursday with her family, which was Thursday, the 29th of November, I think is what I read.
In 1989.
In 1989. Mm-hmm. She had dinner with their family and she said, man, she felt like she had ate a lot. So estaba media llena. So she decided that she would benefit from a run.
Right? Oh, damn.
So the next day in the morning.
Oh, not like right there and then, bitch. No, después, the next day.
No, well, her mom still kind of felt como que estaba llena. So su mom le dijo.
I mean, I understand. Me too. The next day I woke up like I was still full.
Bitch, yeah. I mean.
But then I still ate it more.
Yeah, duh. Yeah. So then so her mom says that she would always go running with her. So the mom would go with her. She's like, I couldn't keep up, but I would watch her, whatever, back and forth. So at this point, it was around 2:00 and Mandy said, you know what, ya no te voy a esperar. I'm going to leave, mom, because you're taking too long y no quieres ir. Dijo la mamá, pues espérate a ver si se me baja el pie, you know, pero no. Dijo que no, que she needed to go.
She's like, you're cramping my style.
You're cramping my shit and I need to go. So there was just this, they lived in a really rural area. There's a lot of trees, a lot of everything. So that, not everything, but, you know. Rural. And so then there was just one street that ran in front of their house. And that street is called Strand Road. Strand Road. So it went straight down to Strand. The Strand Road went straight down, but it would hit at the end of the street. It would hit a river called Nooksack. Why did I thought that was hilarious? I don't know.
Same.
Because
we have the same brain then.
Because we have the same brain. Because I thought it was hilarious, and every time I say Nooksack, I'm gonna laugh. So she would run down the street to the river. Antes de llegar al river, se regresaba. So it was a turnaround, and then she would run back. So that was her route. Everybody, she knew that that's what she was gonna run. So, but her mom como que no se quedó a gusto. You know, you're going all the way by yourself. So, you know what? Let's just go ahead and have you take the dog with you.
Okay.
So she took her dog. It was a German Shepherd. Some people say his name was Kyra. Some people say his name was Cairo. So I don't know.
Let's call him Kai.
Well, Cairo. I don't know. It was around 2:30 p.m. when she said, hey, mom, you're taking too long. You're not coming. Me voy sola. So Mandy and Kyra, or Cairo,
or Kai,
left the house and started the run around 2:30. By 4 p.m., Mandy's mom started to notice, oye, pues ya son las 4.
Y no llega.
And I mean, and she was a pretty fast runner, you know, y no está tan larga la calle, y no llegaba.
Do you know, I don't know if this matters, I'm just curious, would she go to the end, come back, and then go back again and come back?
No.
Or it was just
once and then back, because it was a pretty long street.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, que pegaba, pues, el river.
El river, yeah.
Y entonces, she said, it's 4:00 y no ha llegado. So she started to kind of get uneasy. Pero suddenly she heard something at the door. So she's like, oh, ya llegó. Mm-hmm. So she ran to go meet her daughter, but there was nobody at the door. So when she opened the door, it was just Cairo by himself.
Oh, shit.
Now that's when she's like, okay, something was wrong. Because the dog is here by himself. He was very going crazy. Like he was like, something is wrong, you know? Casi, I'm being serious. Sometimes I feel like our animals, ya nada más falta que hablen. Because they can talk. I mean, I can...
Oh, you can tell that something's off.
That they need to tell you something.
Yeah.
This is when she's like, okay, I'm going to start calling people. She started immediately calling around. She called Mandy's boyfriend, Rick, and anyone else that she could think of that could help her find or know if they had seen. Yeah, they had seen Mandy. So no one had seen or heard from her. When her son Lee came home, he told her that he was at one of his buddy's house y que la miró pasar. So like he saw her running. And she was on the way back. Okay. So then after that, she was on the, seen her running back to the house with the dog. I mean, ella traía el perro.
Yeah.
So the evening rolled around y no, nothing. Everybody starts looking for Mandy. everybody was literally on it. People were going through shifts. They were practically just like using a fine comb and combing the area.
But they didn't call the police?
Yeah, of course. They called the police and all of that. But by this time, everybody just came together.
Knew.
Yeah. I mean, there's 200 people.
Yeah, como dices, it was such a small, close community that they knew that she,
So the volunteers did the same thing, and they'd search for 3 days straight without stopping. Empezaba alguien, and then they would come out, and they were looking whatever. And they literally, for Friday night on, tirelessly, because that was Friday, meaning like Friday after Thanksgiving, right?
En la tarde, pues.
Sí. Detectives also searched near the Nooksack River, and the searchers couldn't find anything. So they said, well, maybe she's in the water. So they got on a boat on Monday. And while they were on the boat, or in the water, and they're trying to see if maybe they can see something. Unfortunately, they did spot some pink shoes. Okay. In the far away. Estaban kind of bright. In the river. And so when they got closer, is when they noticed that it was running shoes. Mm-hmm. When they were able to take out whatever was wearing the running shoes, they noticed that it was a body. The body was nude. And it was only wearing the pink running shoes along with socks. That's it.
Oh my God.
So when
I thought you meant that only they found, or they only saw floating shoes without, any. Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then they noticed when they got even closer that it was Mandy. So the small town was so invested. When the detective that was working the case was on the boat, and somebody in a later interview asked him, like, what did you say when you found her? Like, what was on your mind? He said, I was looking. It was like I was looking for my daughter. Mm-hmm. And then he said,
so how old was she?
18.
19?
No, 18.
Uh-huh.
When he jumped in the water to check on her, and he found out that she was not alive, all he could say was, I got you. You're safe now.
Yeah.
This particular investigator said that not before Mandy went missing, he had taken some lessons with the FBI, because back then it was 89. There was still not a lot of technology and how to, pick up DNA and preserving and all of that. So he said that he had taken some lessons, that there was a new technology coming of DNA. Mm-hmm. So he was very careful when he collected, all of the evidence from, especially when processing Mandy's body. Mm-hmm. He said that he took his time and he preserved the DNA as best as he could, because he said he wanted to make sure that whoever had done this was caught. So the medical examiner did determine that Mandy had been sexually assaulted and then was knocked unconscious. And then she was put in the river to drown. So she was still alive when she was put in the river.
So that was her cause of death? She drowned?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So what the investigators were able to piece together was that Mandy was running, and that she was already on her way back, running home. And when someone in a car, because it had to be in a car, must have forced Mandy into the vehicle at gunpoint, because that's the only reason why she would get on, and then pushed or kicked the dog Cairo out or into a ditch, because they think when they found him, he was all todo revolcado and stuff. And then he drove about 4 to 5 miles from the abduction site and assaulted her, to where he then threw the body into the river. Now, it was believed that Mandy must have been forced in at gunpoint, because, like I said, she was a runner. She was an athlete.
She would have been able to
outrun him. Yeah, or the assailant. Easily. The body had scratches all over her arms and legs, so they think that she put up a fight. Yeah. So, like I said before, they have a lot of blackberry bushes in Washington.
Or in Acme.
And around there, they had a blackberry bush, so they think she was hiding there, and he drug her out, and that's why she had the scratches all over.
Okay.
That were near in the area. Investigators believe that when she was running from the assailant, he then hit her in the head. Assailant. He then hit her in the head and
knocked her
out, and then put her in the water to leave her to drown.
Okay.
Also, her brother had seen her run past his friend's house along with another delivery person that actually saw her as well. His name was David Cracker. And he also saw Mandy running by his van when he was making a delivery on Strand Road. So she was on Strand Road.
Yeah.
The road that Mandy was taking for her jog. And he said that he saw another car driving close by to her, like slowing down. And David said that it was kind of like a truck, I guess, that he could remember. And there was 2 people in it, and they appeared to be in their 30s. Another man was seen around at the time that Mandy was killed as well. He was driving a station wagon. While the investigations did did come up with like a composite sketch of who they thought they were looking for, that it did lead them to a guy that kind of looked like the composite sketch that was kind of like sketchy. His name is David Suchi, a local drifter, that claimed that he kept saying, I had nothing to do with that. I don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah. As we know, in 1989, there was not many advances in DNA. The first case that was solved with the use of DNA was in 1987. And it was in England. Okay. So there wasn't that technology in the United States.
Todavía. It was in the early stages.
It was in early stages. So there might have been some, but there wasn't. But it wasn't whenever she went missing.
I mean, especially, I doubt that it would go to Acme, Washington.
Exactly. That was exactly what I was about to say. Acme was a very small town.
Yeah.
The case, of course, was not high profile. I'm pretty sure that when all of this DNA stuff happened or whenever it came out, it was expensive.
Yeah.
So these kind of things weren't.
They weren't able to.
Yeah. Not only that, but
and then I'm sure that because it was such a small community, they never really saw these type of cases, right? Like
definitely. But like I said, the sheriff's department was paying attention, so they were wanting to advance. So even though they were very small, they were able to pull a profile from some semen that was found inside of Mandy.
Okay.
But it didn't match any of the DNA in the area that was in the database, which was probably like 2 people, because people weren't taking DNA samples. People weren't doing that. They were able to compare it to David Suchi, and he was not. He was ruled out, immediately. I would like to give a shout out to Acme Police Department, because even though they were so small, they were ahead of their game.
They were on it.
They were on it. Yeah. The town only had about, like I said, 200 people. So it wasn't hard for them to compare DNAs, right? Since there was not many people to compare to. They did turn to her boyfriend. And since they had been on and off, kind of like a little trouble relationship for about 3 years. But Rick said, hey, here's what you need. They compared his DNA.
He cooperated.
Yeah. And then not only that, he also had a solid alibi. So he was, quickly taken off the suspect list. At this point, unfortunately, the case starts to go cold. The story of Mandy started getting a national attention, even went as far as getting the news in Japan.
Oh, damn.
And the reason was because there was an exchange student that was at the high school in Acme. And then, no, I'm lying. It wasn't at the high school. It was at the college that Mandy attended. So he knew about it. So I guess he told whatever. And so people were like invested in it. So what happened to Mandy quickly turned into something that affected the whole town. People started to lock their doors, and they even put together like a Crime Stop group of, to help protect the small town. People in the community believed that whoever did this to Mandy, they could do it again. Like, they weren't afraid.
Did they think that it was somebody that wasn't from their town?
At first they didn't think so. That's why they were like, okay, he's close, he can come back. But then when things started going south, that people were not finding anybody. I mean, like I said, it was such a 200 people town that you're like, it cannot be that difficult to find who did this.
249.
No, at that point, it was about 200. So it couldn't even be 200 maybe. Yeah. So they're like, okay, we can find this quickly, right?
But nothing came up.
So they're like, so what happened? So the community even went as far as having self-defense classes, which I think is amazing. I think everybody should do that for the girls and for the children. I meant to say not the girls. And they also started having women and girls kind of rolling groups. We do that anyway. We go to the restroom together. The general store in town, the general store, were actually, they were able to stock up on maize. Oh, they were like, okay, we're going to get, I'm telling you, Acme, they're up there, dude. So Mandy, unfortunately, was cremated and buried in a wooden box, half a mile from her home in St. Joseph Mission Cemetery. Just a reminder, if this wasn't bad enough, let's not forget that now Mary has lost 2 of her children.
Oh, yeah.
And both of their murders are not solved. The other one, it doesn't look like she's going to get any
Were they
better.
The oldest too, también, at that?
Yeah. So at the burial, everyone in town, everyone was there. Yeah. And the basketball coach of Mandy, as I mentioned at the beginning of the story.
And I'm sure people from her school también vinieron from out of town and stuff.
he was the one that delivered the eulogy for her, and he read the letter that she wrote to him. The family did get a lot of support from the community, not only from Acme, but from everywhere in the United States. People were just sending money and checks and stuff. They got about $20,000 of donations from all over, and people were just writing Mandy's family because they didn't even know any information. Like they would just say Mandy's family.
Chills.
Yeah. And so there was no information, and it did help for them to bury Mandy. Thank goodness,
all
right?
the expenses, yeah.
So in 1990, a scholarship was made up in Mandy's name. And actually, on top of that, 2 students made a song called Mandy's Song. And they made a cassette, which I thought was so cool because cassettes were cool. And
back then they were.
Yeah. And they sold it to raise money for the scholarship, to help with the scholarship.
Okay.
One of the students did end up becoming a Grammy-winning singer-songwriter.
Oh, well, damn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Through the 90s, Mandy's case just seemed that was not going to get solved. So Mary just figured that her daughter's case would turn just like her son's and be unsolved. The police department never stopped following on leads. They literally were always looking at someone, whatever anybody would say something that had to do with it, like from generation to generation. They kept the case open. They never closed it. This brings us to June 2013.
Okay.
This makes 24 years after the murder of Mandy. A conversation at a water park. That's my stomach. I'm hungry. There it is again. Yeah.
Wow.
Turned the whole case on its head. As I mentioned before, the town was very small at the time, but of course people grew up, they moved out, as well as new people came into town.
Yeah.
2 complete, and I mean complete strangers to themselves were at a water park. And they were having just seamless conversation. The 2 women lived in town, but as I said before, they didn't know each other.
They lived in Acme.
But they didn't know each other.
They were just having, like you said, una conversation así de la nada. Andaban conviviendo ahí en el water park.
So we are going to be discussing two people. The first person is Heather Backstrom and Mary Lee Anderson. Both of these ladies were with a group of moms, like me, que me voy con las moms de los parents de los kids or whatever. And they were at Birch. Yeah, not Birch. Yeah. Birch Bay Water Slides. Así se llamaba.
Okay.
And they probably about maybe not even 10 miles from Acme. And they were standing around waiting on their kids to come down the slide. So at this point, they're all in a group. And one of the moms, for some reason, started mentioning, hey, remember that girl that got killed in Acme, Mandy, blah, blah, blah. And my stomach, dude. Wow. Just kind of bringing it up to see if anybody remembered.
Just making conversation.
Yeah, conversation. And everybody kind of just were like, yeah or no, and kind of kept quiet or whatever. Mm-hmm. She's like, man, that's crazy that nobody knew what happened to her or whatever.
And it's been 24 years.
Yeah. Whatever. Mm-hmm. Y también igual, everybody was just kind of like, we don't want to.
Okay.
Luego se separan Mary Lee and Heather, and they were talking alone amongst themselves. And they went to high school together, but they knew each other, but they didn't know each other. They had never talked.
Yeah.
But in the chit-chat conversation back and forth, they went back to Mandy's case. And out of nowhere, Heather blurts out, I think I know who did it.
Oh.
Yeah. And Mary Lee stopped and kind of did what you just said, what? And then she turns around and she says, out of nowhere, I think I know who did it too.
They both said that to each other.
To each other, yeah. And then, why did they bring up the same person? The same name?
Y'all didn't talk to the police back in 1989?
Well, wait, let me finish. So they brought up a name, and the name.
How did that go? You go first? Oh, we'll go at the same time? Know, 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah.
Who do you think it is? What?
No. And so they brought up the name of Tim Bass.
Okay, wait, hold up. If somebody told you, mm-hmm. hey, I think I know who did it, mm-hmm. what would your reaction be?
Oh, well, tell me.
You're gonna be like, oh, you don't want to say this to the police?
Hell nah. I want to know first.
Really, bitch?
Yes, bitch. The fuck?
Y luego?
I'm gonna be like, well, who do you think? And then when they tell me, I'll be like, oh, I know who that is or whatever, you know?
Or you're like, oh, I don't know who that is. Let's call the police. Let's call the police. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't help you or, you know, whatever. Oh, what if it's my cousin? Shit.
I thought you were turning them in.
I would, girl. I'll turn everybody in. My kids, my cousin. So here's where it gets a little bit interesting. So
it's the Bass.
Tim Bass. Tim Bass was this person who lived on Strand Rd.
Okay.
Before I tell you about where Tim is from or wherever he came into the picture, I'm going to tell you why Mary Lee thought that it might be Tim.
Or both of them,
right?
Yeah.
So Mary Lee went on to tell Heather that in 1999, so not too long.
10 years after Mandy's murder. No. 1999?
Yeah.
10 years later.
10 years later, yeah. A friend of her husband's, which is Tim, he came home. She was home alone. Y ella estaba con su niño. Su niño era un toddler. And so she heard a knock at the door, pero ya era tarde and her husband was out at work. And so she did it. She looked out the door because she's like, I'm not going to open the door. And when she looked, it was Tim. So she opened the door because she knew Tim.
Yeah.
Tim and her husband were friends.
Yeah.
And so then he's like, oh, I've been out hunting. Can I come in and to use your cell phone? And I need to use the restroom. And so then I need to call my wife to tell her that I'm okay.
Está casado la verga.
Yeah. Y entonces ella le dice, okay. So ella va y le da el teléfono. Y on the moment que ella le da el teléfono, she kind of stood around like, what are you doing? Call. And so Miss Mary Lee said, okay, when she saw that Tim dialed the number, she could hear, because she wasn't that far, que the number said, you've called the wrong number or whatever.
Y luego,
whatever.
Wait, esos teléfonos back in the day, that shit was fucking loud. Like,
yeah, loud. So then she heard that, pero he goes on to tell his wife, hey, I'm here, I'm running late, blah, blah, blah. But he dialed the wrong number. So esto ya no le gustó a ella. She was like, wait, what?
The fuck?
I know that you dialed the one number. I could hear that the fucking lady was like, you know, whatever the fuck that noise was. After that, Tim says, okay, here, thank you. Gracias. And
¿Se va?
No, wait. So Mary Lee said that he started walking around her house.
¿Adentro o afuera?
Adentro. Y que Tim tells Mary Lee that he'd been driving by her house and that he could see her when he was driving by her house.
What the fuck?
And that he had a confession to make. Tim tells her that he has been in love with her.
What?
And that he wants to make love with her. In the bed. So when Mary Lee was like, what the fuck? I'm in front of this guy. He's going to hurt me.
Y tienes un niño.
She kept telling her, he was trying to take her to the bedroom.
Right. Yeah.
And so he's pulling on her arm and she's like, no, but she had her phone in her hand.
Yeah.
So then she said que it was like, if you don't let me go, I'm calling the cops.
Yeah.
So I guess that spooked him, pero él se fue.
Oh my God. That would I don't even know.
So he left, but he was just kind of, so she said, I just stayed away from him and whatever. I mean, I would have told my husband or the police or somebody, but I mean, I don't know how people in Acme work. I don't know. So a few months before this, anyway, so then Heather's like, oh, well, let me tell you my story. Heather said that a few months before Mandy's murder, Heather was around 15 years old.
Oh, damn. So she was younger.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Tim was 21.
Ew.
Yeah. So after a softball game, Heather and a group of friends, and he was included in the group of friends, they all jammed into a truck and they were going to go get ice cream at Dairy Queen. So they were going to go get on, pero it so happened que Heather se quedó enfrente next to the driver, which his name is Dan, in Tim.
So she was in the passenger seat?
No. She was in the front of the truck. Ya ves que es double seats?
Oh, so she was in the middle?
She was in the middle.
Okay.
So como que...
Like your truck.
So then she's in the middle, and she said that during the drive, Tim was a fucking sick, first of all, because he's 21, she's 15. And he kept saying, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Oh, sorry about that. You're so beautiful. Your eyes are so perfect. And then he found a pin somewhere and he would pass the pin over her shoulders.
Ew.
And her knee and her leg.
Yuck.
The pin, right? And so,
wait, this is what they were Solos?
So, no. Everybody was in the car.
What?
Pero dice ella, well, let me finish. So dice Heather que she was frozen like in fear because she's like, what the fuck is going on, right? So she couldn't move or say anything. And so then the other people were like, Dan was talking to the bad guys.
Oh, they were having their
all having their conversation. And this fool is just over here.
Diciéndole en la oreja.
En la oreja y pasando la pinche pluma por mi leg, you know? So she's like, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
I couldn't even make a scene. She's like, all I did was I just froze and I just wanted to go home.
I understand.
So Dan actually ended up being her husband. The Heather. She ended up marrying Dan.
And Dan was a driver?
And Dan was a driver.
Okay.
Yeah. Heather said that she knew that he wasn't going to do anything because the truck was full, but that she just couldn't deal with it.
But the fact that he had balls to do it
in front of people, bitch.
Yeah.
That must have told you something, right?
He didn't give a fuck.
And so she said, no, so she said she just stayed away from him. She kind of le dio la vuelta, you know?
Excuse me.
So at this point, they both think Tim murdered Mandy. Wow. They're like, he had to have something to do with it. You know, both the ladies thought, you know what?
He was a creep.
He's a creep. You know what? It's time that we need to bring it to the police because they're still out there looking for who did this.
So, yeah, it's just like, I wonder if they always suspected it back then. But was he a suspect? Are you going to tell me that he was Okay.
So then they both went to the police with this information, right? And they talked to the detectives y les dijeron lo que pensaban y todo. So when they started looking into, you know, back then in the case, if they had even looked into Tim at all, it looked like they never even took his DNA. So,
but did they interview him or anything like that?
They didn't even interview him because he was well known in the community. His family was well known in Acme.
Oh, so he would never even be a suspect.
No.
Pero se andaba portando bien mal el puto.
So then that's what happened. They never even questioned him or took his DNA. So then the police was like, wait, why? So then whoever was over the case now was like, okay, let's see what we can do about it. So even though but my deal is, this was crazy because I even wrote this on here. Like, even though he lived on the street, you didn't think to take all the boys or all the girls, whatever DNA. I'm not just saying the boys. I'm saying everybody. Like I get it. It's expensive, but you went as far as getting dozens of people, but you can't get the people that was on the fucking street.
I don't know.
Like,
no, I get it. I mean, I know what you mean,
but okay, whatever.
But like you said, maybe the family name, like como que lo tapó, you know?
Yeah. So Mandy was friends with Tim's younger brother, Tom.
Okay.
So they kind of had a connection there. They were friends. They were around. Yes, he was younger than him.
Porque aquel era el creeper that was older than everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm. So after a month and a half of the murder, they find out, the young ladies or the las mujeres, they find out that Tim got married and moved out of town. So the town wasn't that far. Investigators say
back in 1989, right?
Back in 1989. I'm sorry, I didn't say that.
No, you're good. No, you just said months after the murder, he got married and left town.
Yeah, in town. Investigators said, okay, well, let's take another look, right? Maybe we can investigate him better this time. So they found out where he moved. He had moved to a nearby town named Everson, Washington, and he had a wife and 3 kids.
Oh, shit.
He drove a delivery truck and he delivered bread. When they went to talk to Tim, they told him, hey, what's up, playa? How you doing? But we're here because we want to bring something up. We're looking for the murder of Mandy. And he looked up at the ceiling and he looked at the investigators. He said, Mandy, Mandy, like looking around.
Así de pendejo?
Así de pendejo, güey. And he was like, no, I don't know Mandy. Mind you, anybody from Acme
knew Mandy.
Anybody from Japan, apparently, knew Mandy. So you're telling me you don't know Mandy, right? So the investigator said, well, okay. So they said, you know what? I understand. Maybe it's been a long time, whatever. And then he's like, but you don't remember.
You lived on the street that she was last on.
They were like Mandy. And then he stated
Stavik.
like Mandy's whole name, like her whole government name. You don't remember her? And he said, oh, yeah. I remember
this
now.
This happened to her back in 1999.
No. She said, oh, yeah, I remember now. She was killed, wasn't she? Mm-hmm. No, motherfucker. She wasn't killed, bitch. Anyway, investigators said yes. And we're here to collect evidence because we're trying to close the case and you lived around her and we just want to, whatever. And Tim said, nope, you cannot have my DNA. He said, I'm not comfortable with that because I'm going to tell you why. I have seen too many true crime shows, and I see people give up their DNA and then they get accused of doing things that they didn't do, or they go to jail.
Oh.
Yeah. What he failed to mention was that they went to jail because they did shit they weren't supposed to be doing.
Because if they have your DNA, well, you know.
Exactly.
It's the science.
So he refused. And they said, hey, you know, just do this for Mandy, blah, blah, blah. No, he said, I'm not going to do it. So
did they come back with the warrant?
Let me finish.
Okay.
So then investigators started to look at him like, hey, let's look at this motherfucker.
He's sus.
Yeah, now something's up. So they're like, you know what? Let's just go out and take a look. So they went to the bakery. And that's where he worked. And they talked to the manager there. Her name was Kim Wagner. And they told him, hey, we're investigating Tim on an unresolved matter. Can we look at his work history? Can we look at his delivery route? Any information. And the bakery and Kim was like, no, you know what? We don't want to get involved. We don't know what that is. If you don't come in with the subpoena, ¿cómo se llama? Subpoena or a subpoenas. We're not going to give you any information. So the police was like, well, fuck, ya me voy otra vez, right? So what they did was they started to stake out his house and kind of watch him outside his house.
Yeah.
Hoping that he would throw away something with evidence,
with his
whatever.
DNA.
So, however, Tim was so careful, dude. Like, he knew, yes, he was so careful, and they just couldn't get anything. So they had to leave him and they had to let him go, right? Before they left the town, because they didn't have any evidence to kind of pursue, you know, Tim, and the bakery was not helping and all that shit. They were able to talk to his ex-wife now, Gina.
Okay. Gina. Okay.
So his ex-wife, they had been divorced already, and she didn't really want to say much about him, but she did say that he was not a very good person. He wasn't a very good husband. But they asked her, hey, so around the time of the murder, where were you? Blah, blah, blah. And she said, no, I had been with him all day. He couldn't have killed her.
Okay.
But como the way that they said, like the way that she said that, you can tell in her eyes that she was scared.
Yeah.
So they didn't really
want to push it,
but they didn't really feel comfortable with that answer. They weren't just like, oh, okay, so she was with them or whatever, you know. While this was happening, they go back and they're like, hey, Tim, we're going to take 36 DNA samples because we want to make sure you're not the only one that we're testing. Like, we want to test more people to see if we can, you know, find out who did this. And they offer him again, hey, do you want to cooperate? Nope. I'm not doing it.
Okay.
So he didn't cooperate. So now at this point, they're like, we have to leave town. There's nothing we can do about it. We don't have any evidence. So one day, Kim is watching TV or the news, and
the owner of the bakery?
The manager of the bakery.
Oh, manager. Okay.
Kim Wagner. She's watching some sort of news. She finds out that the reason that they're investigating is because they're opening the murder again of Mandy.
Yeah.
And she knew Mandy.
Oh, she did?
She did. So she said that she was a delivery driver at that time that Mandy died. So when she disappeared, and she said that she never forgot the case, and she felt so bad because she said, I could have helped them a long time ago. I'm down.
Yeah.
Like, I want to help you.
So
right?
that changed her mind.
That changed her mind. So she wanted to help investigate Tim. Kim goes on to say that Tim was so rude and unpredictable that he would not even call her by her name or like manager or miss. He would always just call her, hey, woman.
Oh, fuck no.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So Kim said that that was one of the major reasons that she was going to help. And without even them asking her, she said, hey, do you want me to get his DNA? Mm-hmm. And the cops were like, well, I mean, we can't tell you to do that, but if you happen to have his DNA, that would be helpful, right?
Yeah, that you throw away.
So all she did, Estela, for the next few months was that que ella iba y she would clean out the garbage cans. Mm-hmm. So cuando él entraba, ella se fijaba cuando él iba a comer, and she would put a new one. That way, si él aventaba algo, she would take it out and make sure nobody put anything on top of it.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't like mess it up.
Yeah.
So he was very careful, Estela. He was so careful that he did not throw away anything for a month. This motherfucker would take the fucking trash home, bitch. He was so careful that he would not throw anything away, and any trash that he would burn.
Damn.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a little bit weird.
That's a little bit much.
Like,
you're going through that that many lengths
to
conceal your trash.
Yeah. So at one point, finally, after 3 months, Estela, you imagine the mental fuck that you have to go through not leave no fucking piece of paper or anything.
Like what you're hiding.
Bro, like me, I would have DNA everywhere.
Se me caen todas las pinches greñas.
Se me caen.
They're all over the place.
Tú andas siempre mocosa.
Yeah,
like, no.
have tissue.
Yeah, like, I would have DNA everywhere.
Yeah.
Thank God that I'm not a killer because I'd get caught. Siempre estoy tosiendo, shit like that. It took about 3 months. And Kim, like I said, she was on it. And that day, she watched Tim take out a plastic cup from the cabinet and pour some Coke into it. So he drank a little bit out of the Coke and then lo echó al vaso. So after that he was done, he grabbed the Coke and the cup, Coke can and the cup y lo tiró a la basura. Pero de allí he went straight to the men's room. So she came out of her office and she quickly grabbed the bag. Dice que she was like, I was not going to let this get away from her. Yeah. She's like, this is the first time that I've seen him throw anything away in 3 months. So she grabbed it and she wrapped it up. And then she's like, I'm pretty sure somebody saw me. She's like, because I was running. And she grabbed it and she put it in her drawer in her desk. So she didn't want nothing new. So she called the police immediately. The police got it, grabbed the DNA, and guess what?
Tell me.
We know who killed Mandy.
Well, it was a match.
It was a match. So the killer of Mandy, or the suspected killer of Mandy at this point, is
Tim Bass.
Investigators went back to fat ass Tim Bass because, of course, they're always like those deteriorated and shit. And they asked him, hey, are you positive that you've never had anything to do with Mandy?
And what happened to her?
Do you know who she is? Do you know what happened to her? No, I don't know. Okay.
I want to look him up.
They even asked him, hey, have you ever kissed her? Because they need for him to say no, because the next question...
He's going to be lying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they asked him, okay, so you sure about that? He's like, nope, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea who that is. I don't know anything. Okay. So that day, because of the DNA evidence, they were able to connect Tim Bass to...
Mandy's
the murder. So what they did was that they went ahead and they put him in jail.
He was 50.
He was 50.
Wow.
He was arrested for the murder of Mandy in 2017. When he was told, because he's I don't know how these people are cockroaches, man. When he was told, well, your DNA was inside of her. This is what happened. And he said, oh yeah, I remember.
Now you remember.
I did have a relationship with her.
Now you remember.
And guess what? No one knew about it.
It was secret.
It was a secret. So the investigators were not buying it, of course.
Of course not.
So, but the defense did run with it. And they even brought an expert to say that the semen could have been in Mandy for 3 days prior to her death. And they argued that Tim had a consensual sex with her the day before. And they even showed pictures of Tim of when he was younger so that they can see that he wasn't bad looking.
Oh, like that would be like,
yeah.
See, like
she would date him. She would date him. And saying like, oh, she would want him. She would want to be with him, right? So Tom, his brother, and his wife, he said that he was going to be on stand. He was going to testify. And he actually testified against Tim.
Yeah.
He said that the reason that he was testifying was because he saw that Tim changed after a girl had left him and he tried to kill himself. But either he missed or he didn't, something happened, pero he didn't end up dying. So after that, he literally treated women like trash. And to him, women were trash.
And this was obviously before anything, Mandy.
Before anything, yeah. So all of this was done because he said that there's a 48 hours on this, and sale Tom con su wife and everything. And Tom said, yeah, I knew Mandy and I'd never heard of Mandy being with my brother. Like, yeah. There's no way. And then she had a boyfriend and.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he moved away, he got married right after. Like he moved away right after. So after a long wait of 30 years, long years, maybe even more. Tim Bass was found guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and aggravated assault, manslaughter, and was sentenced to 27 years in prison for the murder of Mandy Stavik.
Damn.
And that's the case.
Was her mom still alive?
Yes. Her mom is still alive. If you watch the 48 Hours, her mom and her sister, when they came to tell her mom that they had gotten DNA match, they went to tell her on her birthday. So she said that it was her birthday present. Yeah. And unfortunately, her son still, there's no.
That's crazy.
Pobre señora. There's a lot of like conspiracies saying that they don't think that Tim only had her. Like there could have been like other girls and stuff.
That's true.
But I didn't really, to be honest, I was already so invested in this. I was like.
Because if he did it to, what if you said, ¿cómo se llamaban las muchachas? Heather.
And Mary Lee.
And Mary, like he did it to Mary Lee. And then he was doing it to Heather when she was little, when she was 15.
15, dude.
Imagine if he didn't he must have at least tried to sexually assault other ones, other women.
And that they never came out and said anything. Because those two women wouldn't have said anything if they didn't say anything, you know? So her sister is still alive as well. And her mom was able to go to and then when Kim went to the stand, she was in stand too. And she was all like, yeah, I got you. She's like, she's like, I got your fucking trash, bitch.
It was I.
So yeah. But yeah, that's the story of Mandy Stavik.
Y es pinche viejo. And then he has his own 3 kids también. Pobres de su wife, de seguro. I bet you should be going through some shit.
Now after he was like found guilty and everything, his wife was like, yeah,
he's shit.
He would beat me and physically, mentally, and whatever.
Abuse her.
So she was probably like happy too at the same time que ya lo pescaron,
Yeah.
But they were divorced, pero he was a dick. Like, I mean, what do you expect from scum, Estela? What do you expect from scum?
Trash.
Trash, like my nephew says. Trash.
Thumbs down and trash.
Thumbs down and trash.
So let us know what you think about today's episode. If you want to send us a message or leave us a comment, you can do so on Instagram at Cafecito and Crime Pod. And if you would like to download our episodes, follow our podcast, rate us, and leave us a review, we would really appreciate it. So
yeah, and then also share our Instagram, because we're almost at 200 followers.
Oh, yeah.
We're at 196.
There you go.
So
we need 4 more.
4 more, girl. Anybody. 4 people. Anybody. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you in the next one.
Bye.